All right, so yesterday and today I've had to have that harsh talk with Gen Zero at work that he's not allowed to leave early. He's not allowed to request to work from home. He's not allowed to do anything but his job. And to that, his response is, I don't care what you say. And when you have workers like that who are not going to respond to, they have to be at work 8 to 5 every day of the week because that's part of the job, they look at you like they don't understand. Or even worse, they look at you like you're retarded. Regardless of how much we deal with Gen Zero, they want to do whatever they want. And that's a problem when you're responsible for taking care of them, when you manage them. And so when I look at all of these videos that Gen Z's getting fired at the fastest rates of any other worker in any other corporation, it's these things. They don't want the dress code, they don't want the hours, they don't want the pay, they don't work well in groups, they can't handle the phone, they can't adapt to situations when it's not black and white. I had to have this discussion with Gen Zero yesterday that there are going to be times in which you're going to get a very limited amount of information, just a sentence. From that sentence, you have to extrapolate everything else around it, which means you have to adapt to these situations. Last week, when I missed one day of work because I had to go to the doctor's office, I came back and there was $5,000 worth of goods that were missing. Where did it go? No one knows. It's just not there anymore. Security footage shows two people entering the room. Product is gone. What are you supposed to do with that? You can't hit Gen Z over the head with the newspaper and say you did a bad thing. But at the same time, this is why people aren't hiring Gen Z because they don't know how to think. They have no critical thinking skills, they have no experience, they have no motivation to work. They basically are coming to work to get a paycheck and do as little as humanly possible, which again, I don't hold that against them. But when you're responsible for Gen Z, you have to make tough decisions. You can't have these people in the workplace. And it's very unfortunate because as more and more companies fire them, they're leaving these jobs where they're getting fired from with no experience. You can't put that you worked at this evil corp for 3 months and then you got fired. And then you worked here and you got fired. And then you worked here and you worked 3 months, 6 months here. This is something I had to explain to Gen Zero yesterday. Is that a lot of these entry level jobs, they don't want you to stay more than 3 to 6 months. You're not building your resume with the job that you're getting fired from because you can't do the job. Sure, you have a liberal arts degree, but what can you do? Can you think on your feet? Can you work productively while I'm not there? Or every time that I leave, you're going to check the security uh, video and you're going to see that the person left once they got bored, or my last Gen Z who decided that work was bedtime. No matter when I checked up on him, he was sleeping. Why? I don't know if he had a second or third job, but this is Gen Z. And the title of this video is exploitation or or what was it? Exploitation, entitlement or exploitation. I mean, when it comes to dealing with minimum wage workers, it's they're both the same thing. Gen Z wants to come to work to earn a high salary, but unfortunately, that high salary doesn't exist in their bracket because of what they offer. If I can't leave you at work by yourself unattended and not have to wonder whether or not you're going to stay the whole time or you're just going to leave every single time, It's just something you can't deal with. That's why Gen Zero is being fired at an at a breakneck pace because you can't do anything with them. And I agree with everything that they're angry about. I don't like dress codes. I don't like working 8 to 5 in the office. I don't like low salaries. I don't like being exploited. And entitlement, I don't think exists in the workplace. I was talking to one of our guys today at work, and he was just like, either they're going to give me what I want extra this year, or I'm going to find another job. And that's really what it comes down to with a lot of these people, these senior level positions. I would say this guy's position in the tech group would be, let's see, I would say there's president, systems, network, inventory. Then I would say the bottom level, which is the support level one. Level one supports the lowest level of any uh, corporation, and that's why you have more of them than anyone else. But with that said, let's get into this story. So today's story, I added two additional things. Right, I added sarcasm as a line in my request from ChatGPT. I also asked it to add curiosity. So let's see what ChatGPT made today. Hi there, welcome to my TED Talk. Oh wait, sorry, this is just a broke person in the living room. Today, let's talk about the audacity of being alive in 2024. And the harsh truth about today's job market, spoiler alert, it sucks. That's really what it comes down to. Many of the people that I know have been looking for work for more than 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I even saw a story this morning where a person had applied for over 1,000 jobs in the past year, and there's only 10 days left in this year, and they've applied for 1,000 jobs, and they're still unemployed. You see, I've got this crazy radical idea that just because I exist, I deserve basic things like food, shelter, maybe a hot shower once in a while, but apparently that's not how the world works anymore. Or ever, really. I mean, I've been saying this on this channel for years. My radical ideas are universal basic income to offset the minimum wage, basic housing rights. No one needs to live in a mansion, but there should be a point where there's affordable housing. There's a house that you can rent that's only 25% of whatever you earn at the minimum wage. Arizona had the audacity to raise the minimum wage on the first. In 11 days, the minimum wage in Arizona is going to go up by 35 cents. That's not helping anyone. Every time they raise the minimum wage, is what they're doing is they're giving poor people a cost of living raise because the corporations aren't going to do it of their own accord. In fact, if the corporations had their choice, they would go in the opposite direction. Every year they would roll back wages, just like the federal minimum wage of $7.25. When I hear that, $7.25 hasn't been raised since the year 2009, but inflation over the past 3 years has risen between 11 and 15% every single year. And the average raise of a normal worker is either nothing or 3 to 4%. 3 to 4%, in my opinion, equals nothing as well. 35-cent increase in the minimum wage isn't going to make you comfortable at home. Many people ask me all the time, why do you live there? And I look at them straight in the face and I say, because since I got out of college, I can't afford anything better. If I want to live alone, this is where I can afford to live. And I was talking to one of the office girls today who was really excited about her white elephant prize that she won yesterday. She wanted to use it as soon as possible. And so we were talking, and she's like, I can't wait to sit in my living room and use this. And she mentioned sitting on a couch and being comfortable and watching television. And I'm like, I've never owned a piece of furniture in my entire life. Not one piece of furniture. I've lived my entire life at the very bottom. With this Christmas being the worst year in nearly 7 to 8 years, I would have to think that going back over the years, there was the after college years after 2017. Then there was the 10 years before that. And then that was the 2008 financial crisis. And before that, I all minimum wage jobs all the way back. I've never had the opportunity in my entire adult life to be comfortable. In fact, being uncomfortable has been the normal state of my entire life. I've lived in survival mode my entire life. So when I've come to the point where you're getting to a Christmas where you're absolutely, completely, and totally broke. I'm off on vacation for the rest of the year, and I think I come back to work on January 3rd. And that's going to be 14 days of sitting here on my hands, spending Christmas sitting here in the dark, thinking about how things are probably going to get progressively worse for us poor people. When you look at the cost of life and you look at what you make, my not owning a single piece of furniture in my entire life is a sad state of affairs. But think of this. There are people who are worse off than I am. There are people, oh my God, how do I put this? I sat at my desk today looking at my screen while they were firing more people. Firing more people. It is December 19th, and they were doing another round of firing people today. And as a person who had to look at each and every one of those names, I thought to myself, this is harsh. I was talking to the leadership of the sales department yesterday, and she just looked at me like, Millennial Stain, there's no one here that was here last year that works in sales. I was walking down the hallway this morning after my beloved coffee maker decided that it was a good day to pass away today. I pushed the little button on the top, it turned on, it made noise, and it was gone. It was dead as a door, dead as a nail. And I looked at the little screen and I thought, not even you. This Christmas has turned into just one of the most pathetic proletariat Christmases we've ever had. And I mention that only because as I was walking on that side of the building to go use the coffee machine, I just took my little cup. I took my K-Pod and I took my coffee mug, company branded, right? Evil Corp, right on the side. And I was walking towards the other side of the building because there are 3 different break rooms on the entire site, right? There's the north wing, the south wing, and then there's this department over here and this rebrand over here, and all of them have their own setups, right? And I was, I was walking through that hallway, and I could hear the sales manager. The one line that stood out that caught my ear while I was standing there waiting for the machine to work. And suddenly I hear this. I'm bringing you into the office to coach you. Remember, we're less than a week away from Christmas. And what that sales manager had to say to the sales rep was nothing good. He ripped her a new one about how terrible her work performance was, how terrible her sales were this month. And she kept saying, but it's the holidays. No one's signing up right now. She kept trying to defend herself against all of these accusations that I imagine were true. I mean, all a sales manager has to do is bring up your stats, right? And there it is, black and white. You didn't meet this goal, you didn't meet this goal, you didn't meet this goal. And do you know how many sales reps they've gone in through in the past year? At least a dozen. They only last 2 to 3 months at most. In fact, this morning when I saw one of the people that had been fired, they'd only been at the company for 3 weeks. And it came down, I looked it up, termination. And I'm like, okay, this is a termination that's happening on a Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning, meaning this person had no idea that this was going to happen to them. And it's really hard because seeing people getting fired in real time and knowing, what time of the year it is, it's hard. It is really hard on you emotionally to see so much pain and suffering in real time. This isn't something that's happening out there, away from me. This isn't something I'm watching on the news. It's not something I'm being told by a friend. I'm watching these terminations happen in real life because sales are going to be down for every single thing you can imagine. Car sales, house sales, stock market going down, people unable to find jobs, people being ghosted by jobs, corporations posting jobs that either don't exist or pay wages where you can't afford to work there. But I digress. Let's get back to the script. Maybe I can get through it in the few minutes that I have left. So picture this. I go to college, I work hard, I graduate with a degree in, let's call it, underwater basket weaving. I've got student loans the size of a small country's GDP, and now I'm job hunting. I apply everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Jobs I'm overqualified for, jobs that pay less than my Uber Eats habit, jobs where the interview feels more like an episode of Survivor. And the response? Silence. Dead silence. Ghosted harder than I was on prom night. Ouch. Oh, that hurts. I never went to high school, so uh, I never developed correctly in the sense that I never was, I never became socially adjusted. I've been called a malcontent, an introvert, and much worse. All of us can be annoying. All of us don't get along with everyone around us. And you get to a point where you're around people and it's time. It's time for someone to move on. And, you're only going to be able to be around the NPCs for so long. After a few months of hearing the exact same thing from the exact same NPC, that you get worn out by them. And mainly, I deal with this being worn out by people in the office by just not talking to them. That's how I deal with people. I just stop talking to them. And I have noticed that there's a lot more people that I have to stop talking to. And that's just the way that you're going to deal with certain people is you're going to stop talking to them. Because in the workplace, the same problems are going to arise every single day. In fact, today was a stereotypical uh, day in the office. What was broken? Let's see. They had the plumbers out. They had the electricians out. They had the air conditioning people out. These people come out constantly because everything in the building's worn out. But I digress. I'm going to try to, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get through this article. A lot of it was really hokey. And I'm at the end of my time limit anyway. So, what am I going to end today's video with? What's the toxic positivity that you have to have? Well, you have to learn to endure the regular pros. The more you dislike them, the way they talk, the way they look at you, the way that they have hope. this is something I just don't understand from the proletariat, is that mindless hope. They look at what, let's say, I just watched an entire podcast on the ridiculous cost of cars that are coming out. The car companies have raised prices on cars, and just like everyone else, right? But the average pro looks at that. They're going to go to a car dealership. You're talking again, a pro that's making minimum wage, $14.70. Thank you, Arizona. They're going to walk onto a car dealership, look at the price of a new car, realize that they could never afford to buy a car even if they lived to be a million. They're going to look at a new house and say the same thing. But that exact same pro who looks dirty, worn out, not well educated, has job hopped since they were a teenager, they're going to look at you and while you're having a conversation with them, maybe even at their work, let's say they're working at a Starbucks, and they will look at you with all of the hope in the world. And I hate this because they'll look at they try to quantify the world around them by saying, "Oh, things will get better." The Cheeto for president that we have coming in, he's going to fix everything. He's already said that he can't fix food prices. Already, he's not even in office yet. He's already, well, there's nothing I can do. That's exactly what he's going to say for the next 4 years. We need better health care. Oh, there's nothing I can do. We need better public schools. Oh, there's nothing I can do. We need better places, safer neighborhoods, and better opportunities in the places where we live. There's nothing he can do about that. What it comes down to, what his plan is, if you're not already rich, you better prepare to enter a new level of suffering in this country. Because as I said to one of my coworkers today, and you guys have also said this in the comments section, America is not a first world country. America is a third world country for most people that live here. And I said this to one of my staunch Republican coworkers today. It's America's not first world anymore. And this was his response. Does your toilet flush? If your toilet flushes, that means that you're part of the first world. And to me, that is the lowest bar that you can set for living in a first world country. Does your toilet flush? Yes. Then suddenly you must be rich because only first world countries have flushing toilets.